Thank you, and welcome. Why do I have this piece of paper, you may wonder? It has some movie titles on it, and if I were just to name most of the movies I've ever seen, most of them, it seems, would have been directed by my guest tonight. However, do you like movies, then? If you do, did you like, I knew the answer. Did you like Born Yesterday, Gaslight, Garland and A Star is Born, Adam's Rib, My Fair Lady, The Women, Garbo and Camille, The Philadelphia Story, Les Girls, W.C. Fields and David Copperfield, Pat and Mike, Dinner at 8. If you liked any or all of these films, there's a good reason for you to like my guest. You can imagine the stories he must have. You don't have to imagine it because he's here. George Cukor. That's such a fragment of the true list of films that you've done. Yes. It must seem stunning.
Some are very, just as well,
left off.
Yes.
What's one to miss at all costs?
Well, there was, I tell you something very odd. I did one with Kate Hepburn called Sylvia Scarlett, which was a catastrophe in its day. And now the people are very sentimental when they do things. They say, oh, we'd love to see Sylvia Scarlett. That amuses her and amuses me. That, when we left, and if I talk too much, stop me.
Oh, okay.
When we left, it was a disaster. And when we left, she went into the ladies' room, and there was a woman lying on the sofa there, and Kate said, was it that bad? And everyone said, oh. And then we got in the car, came to my house where the producer was waiting, and we came in full of things. We'll do a picture for nothing, and we'll do it. And he said perfectly seriously, I never want to see either of you again. But he, alas...
The producer?
Yes, Pan Berman. But he, alas, was stuck with us for several others. But
could a thing like that have ended her career?
No, it didn't put her. She had a very ticklish time when she was known as box office poison.
Box office poison. Yeah. It's amazing to think that.
How
today.
Stupid of the. And that was some press agent who said that because she never was box office. She never should have been box office poison. But so a glib thing, and when you get a phrase like that, it sticks with you. Yeah. For example, they said, well, you're a woman's director. And I said, and for years I would say, oh, thank you very much. And then suddenly I thought, well, there have been men in every picture that I've done, and it's such an absurd thing.
That's right, you've been labeled a women's director,
yes,
despite
yes.
Jimmy Stewart and others I could
and
name.
And Ronald Colman, yes,
sure.
and Spencer Tracy, a very distinguished man.
That's right. It would take a brave man to strike Katharine Hepburn.
Oh, that's nonsense. I just struck a light blow like this. I didn't strike her.
Is that all there was to it? I heard you gave her a real...
Oh, yeah, no. I don't know why I did, but I was sure justified. She was silly or something, and I hit her on the thing.
Did it have to do with getting her costume messed up or something? Or?
Oh, yes. I said, now, be careful now. Don't... naturally, and all these things, they always, right before you go on, they say, there's only one of these, so you've got to be very careful. And so, anyway, she did something, and I said, why did you do that? Not as hard as that, but she knew that she did something wrong.
And she'd gotten ice cream on her costume,
yes,
apparently.
my God, you know more about me than I do. These are all old stories that I've forgotten, mercifully.
Well, mercifully, you haven't, because I know that is it Paul Morrissey?
Yes.
Who's doing a book about and with you, and
yes.
It's about time, even though On Cukor, nice pun in the title, yeah. It was an interesting book too. I like that.
Yes, very good, very well written.
Yeah.
But that's ancient history then. Been
sure.
years later.
Well, yes. I may throw up a lot of ancient history at you.
You may throw up.
Well, no, I'll try not to.
That's happened to me, too.
When you saw Hepburn on my program some years back,
Yes.
At one point she said, I'm putting on the charm. Does that mean that I wasn't seeing the real Kate at all times?
No. She has real charm, and I think she would despise it. Why shouldn't she be charming? She's fun,
Sure.
and she's talented, and a good friend. And no, I don't. What was she being too gentle and too easy?
Well, at one time I think I must have said something like, "It's wonderful to be seeing the real you," or something, and I think
that's
she said,
nonsense,
I'm
yes,
just putting on the charm.
Yes, no. She made
I
it
thought
funny.
it was a charming moment, by
Yes,
the way.
yes.
She's often said to be a real lady. People often use that phrase about her.
What's that mean?
Well, I don't know, but one thing it might mean is that that she doesn't use bad language.
Oh, she never used to. And when I've known her for all these years, I would say, a lot of her friends do, mind you, and said, God damn it, or something like that. Am I allowed to say that?
How would I know?
No. Anyway, she's, I remember, this was many years ago when you didn't use that language, you know, but she uses it now herself, not the luscious four-letter words.
How hard is it for you to edit yourself as we sit here now? Because you're known for your salty language, and
Well, now I'm making a good impression, and it'll be seen by millions, and I have some relatives here, so they're...
Shoplifting, Hepburn?
Shoplifting? I didn't know that she never did that.
Oh, then I must be confusing
You got
two
the wrong-
stories,
yes.
because
No.
There's no such
She's no such incident.
no such incident.
No. She's very honorable and very scrupulous. No, she's not a shoplifter. She may be other things.
There's a story somewhere in which she was accused of shoplifting or something in her childhood or something like that.
Maybe in
But
her childhood. But
maybe you could, because I saw her in Bloomingdale's the other day, and she...
she walked through it.
Come to think of it, one pocket was bulging.
No, I think she's very honest and very. She's not inclined to snip a little here and there.
I'm glad to hear that. Speaking of department stores and things, I once saw, now where would I say I saw this? I didn't see it at all. Someone told it to me, and it's so vivid I think I saw it. A man was buying sheets, and Garbo was buying sheets in this New York store next to him, and she signed the bill, and of course he tried to buy it, and they wouldn't sell it to him.
Really, I think that's an apocryphal story. I think it's very unlikely.
So my friend's a liar.
No, anybody very trusting. I think she's too clever to do that.
Yeah. It was just at the sales slip. He went to the sales lady and said, could I buy that? And she said, no, we're not allowed to do that. And then probably sold it to an autograph dealer.
No,
but
she doesn't like to give autographs.
The fascination with Garbo remains, and
the mystery of
and the mystery remains. And people often say to me, when will you have her on? And
well, why don't you have her on?
Well, I'm always getting a haircut or something when she's available. But what would she... there's no way she would ever do a thing like that, is there?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know why she shouldn't. She looks charming, and she's having a birthday soon. Maybe you could celebrate her birthday.
I'd be glad to.
Yes. No, she's not. She's not done it. That's the Swedish in her.
What does she like to talk about? When you see her, what do you talk about?
Well, I think this is, have I said this before? One night I had her for dinner, and Mae West was there for dinner. That was quite a combination. And Mae West likes to talk, and I said, what? Did I tell you the story?
I want to hear it again.
Well, when Garbo came in, first of all, Roddy McDowell was there, and he had met everybody in the world, but not Garbo. And I said I'd hope that he would drop dead or some terrible thing, you know, to see her come in. But she came in, and Mae West was wonderful. She got up, and she had never met her before, and she said, hello, dear, and she kissed on the cheek, and Garbo said, I've not been kissed by, you know, women like that. And then Mae West talked and talked, and Garbo listened, and finally but she was very, very very funny and very nice, and they were admiring. She and Hauser were saying, look at her beautiful hands. She has skin not full of pock marks. And
Mae West.
Mae West has, yes. Very lovely skin, which she's taken care of.
And Garbo simply
admired
listened and...
Listened, she didn't have a chance to talk. So, you know, she spoke, and it was a very pleasant evening up to a certain point. And then that was enough after a certain time.
Most people would be struck dumb around her, I would think. You wouldn't know whether to mention current books.
Oh, no, she's very clever and very watching everything. No, she's not a dreamer or remote at all. I never thought I'd be talking about Garbo after all these years, because she's a friend of mine, but I hadn't worked with her for a long time, and I didn't. There's this passionate interest in her, isn't there?
Yes, and by keeping herself aloof, she retains it.
She has beautiful manners, and she's very gay and funny.
Do you have any reason to believe that she struggles with the idea of maybe doing another film?
No, I shouldn't think so.
Even now?
I've asked her, and I shouldn't think so. And she was for years and years at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and then she decided. She left Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mayer, who was not my confidant, told me that she was very generous and very well behaved and very nice. And then she said she was going to do a picture abroad, and waited and waited. And the people apparently did not. She was humiliated because they didn't raise the money. And I said, "Give me your contract, and I will take it to my lawyer." And he said, they owe her this, and they owe her that. And then I said, listen, don't go until you're sure that they're good. Well, she went. She had listened to my advice. And I learned that she was humiliated by the whole thing. And then that didn't mean that she wanted to retire. I don't think that caused her retirement. But also, she has a very accurate eye. And she said it would be awfully painful to her she was very easy to photograph, and it'd be awfully painful to her to have to be very careful and cagey, you know, about being photographed. So she just left, said, that's it, and left.
Forever?
Forever. And people have attempted to asked her to come back, and I sent her scripts, and I talked to her about it, and you know, she's Swedish, very stubborn. Yeah.
What was it like directing her? By that I mean, are there any limitations that she had? Did you ever ask her to do anything she couldn't do, or did you ever say, I'm
she's
sorry?
Most accomplished actress, most accomplished, and has a great style, and if you're clever, you don't overstep that. But she's very easy to work with and charming. And the crew that she's had for a long time know her, and we rehearse, and then they let her do what she felt easy doing. There was a scene that she played with Lionel Barrymore where she sank to her knees on the most unconventional thing, and the crew watched that. And they would not put limitations on her. And she was, and they all liked her very much. And there was a man who was especially with Bill Daniels, who had the charge of her eyelight, the cameraman. And this fellow was there with her for years. And she liked the same crew, and she was awfully sweet. When she finished, she would touch him and go away. She was very, very accessible and very sweet and very well behaved.
Would she ever say, I'm sorry, George, I didn't get it on that take, let me do it again?
No.
Or would she ask you if she
No. In fact, I would say, I think we could do it. No, she's extremely intelligent and very practical. And also, as a director, you've got to know the limitations, when they're right and when they're not right. And it was not really necessary. She was a very accomplished actress.
Would anything ever cause her to storm off the set and
Never. Oh, nonsense. She had good manners. And of course, she was treated with a great deal of respect and regard. No, storm off. I never had an actress storm off unless she was an idiot. Because nobody storms off.
Who were some of the idiots you've worked with?
No, I don't encourage bad behavior. And certainly, Garbo had beautiful manners. And anybody who is, they have off days, but if somebody, they don't behave badly.
You're supposed to have what they call a very happy set when you're working, but you must have had times when somebody...
Yeah, when I was unhappy.
or an actor was incorrigible, or
no,
drunk, or
well,
both. Or...
I coped with that. After a while, you say, well, stop it, and that doesn't mean, and I also have forgotten unpleasant moments, you see.
Sure.
Life is very pleasant. I don't remember any such things, but I'm sure I've been through them.
Were you ever tempted to say to John Barrymore?
No, he was a friend of mine, and he was absolutely charming and very easy and very witty and very nice. Not John Barrymore. There were other stoop-nagels that I have worked with that, besides...
Stoop-nagels?
Yeah, that's old-fashioned. No, I mean stupid people who
Yeah.
are silly. And but I think it's up to the director to make a whole atmosphere where people work happily or well, and not have crises and all that.
I was wondering if you ever tempted to say to Barrymore, when he was, as they say, past it, you're embarrassing yourself, John, on the screen.
Oh, no. I never
bother.
felt he was. You see, I must tell you something, that there was a picture that Darryl Zanuck, who was the head of Fox, wanted to do, and it's the story of a man, an oldish actor, with his daughter, and Kate Hepburn said she was going to start to rehearse something in New York. She told Zanuck, whom she didn't know really, she said, if Barrymore ever says he will do it, I will come out here happily at my own expense to do the test if you want to test.
Really?
Yes. She admired him a great deal.
Yeah.
And he was very sweet with her.
Can you confirm something a film buff told me was true? I'd never heard it before. We all know that Monty Woolley played The Man Who Came to Dinner. I heard that somewhere there exists a test of John Barrymore testing for that role.
I think it's very unlikely.
I think they said they'd seen it at the Modern Art Museum.
Very unlikely.
And that he was so wonderful, but that it was so late in his tragic life that they really just couldn't risk making that film with him. But to see it as a lesson in comedy.
I know that Kate Hepburn said to Zanuck, if you ever do make a test of him, I'd be happy to interrupt my rehearsals. She admired him. He was very kind to her. After the initial pass he made, obligatory pass, he was perfectly sweet with her. And he liked her, and she admired him, as well she should.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it ever depresses you in any way when, I haven't seen your home, but it's been described to me, and there are pictures of so many people that you've worked with.
Yes.
And I was thinking Garland, Monroe, Kay Kendall, Harlow, Vivian Leigh was a good friend of yours,
Yes,
Judy
yes.
Garland, of course. Did I mention her? And,
Does that depress me to see that picture?
Judy Holliday, all gone.
Yes, that's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
But it's natural, if you have any common sense, you realize that it so happened you're around, but they're not. And no, I think we're awfully stupid to be sentimental about this and that there, that they're gone. I think that's a silly expression anyway.
I was just thinking how many of those ladies died early and for various reasons and all.
Yes.
Did you ever sense that they were doomed?
No. No, I didn't.
Even Harlow? Or...
No, she was a very sweet, cheerful girl, and I didn't know that she was going to die, but she had very nice manners and very well behaved. I sound so sweet about everybody, but she happened to be a very nice girl.
Yeah.
They weren't all darlings all the time.
No.
But that's part of the director's job, is to see that they are on their best behavior.
Sure.
And I tell you what I think it is. If they feel they're getting their money's worth, the director is doing things that would be good for them. They're perfectly sweet.
Sure. What about husbands of stars?
don't remember. I suppose they are. They're not ever present, and also I'm not sure how long they last. But no, I don't involve myself in that.
Why is it you never hear a good word about the late Adolphe Menjou? I know that's...
Yes, because he was I don't want to use the four-letter word here. He was a dreadful creature. He was in every way, and I didn't like him, and he was a bad sport, and also a bad actor, which is the great crime.
Yes.
No, but some people must love him. I thought he was a horror.
Well, see how sweet you can be when you want to be?
No, I just
what was it?
Tell you what he did.
When you find someone so universally despised, it's interesting to know what he...
Well, in the first of all, he was a super patriot. Everybody was a communist, and everybody was this and that, and he was the great, the super patriot. And he was a fool, and talked about a lot of things he didn't know anything about. But for a time there was this thing about you're a communist and this one's a communist, and he stepped up and pointed out who was a communist. He just behaved very badly.
Now, did they cut him dead after that?
Well, I tell you what was very interesting. He did a picture with Katharine Hepburn and Tracy. And Katharine Hepburn was perfectly sweet with him. Tracy wouldn't talk to him at all. And then his wife said, Adolphe was rather surprised that Katharine Hepburn acted as though nothing happened. She didn't become his greatest friend, but she thought that was part of her job, and I said unkind things about it. But he really rushed to turn everybody in who was a communist, and he didn't know who was a communist at all.
So he wasn't even accurate about it?
No.
Yeah.
And it was none of his damn business. But that was, for a time, that was very fashionable to point the finger. I think you probably would have been a communist at that time. I thought it was... Because you're a liberal, which is very bad news.
Am I?
Yes, I think you are.
Oh. Thank you, I think.
It's meant to be that way.
Yes.
No, you're...
I was thinking Jonathan Miller, who I had on, said that he would hope that had he lived at that time, he would have perceived that this enthusiasm for communism that Soviet aggression, as it has turned out, could be just as bad as fascism in its way.
Did you say that?
But that it was quite fashionable at Cambridge and so on in those days to see it as something to even worth betraying your country for, that it was such a salvation of the world and so on.
I don't believe in betraying your country, I think. And I was around, and no, I wasn't that enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. Now let's see, the two ladies who supposedly ruled Hollywood, Hedda Hopper and the other one.
Yeah. I don't think they
What was their
Hollywood.
miserable name?
Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons.
Luella Parsons.
No, they were gossip columnists, and they were successful at the time. I don't think they had all that power at all. I don't think a lot of people listened to them. There was a lot of people who buttered them up, but I don't. I see somebody who had their own firm, they wouldn't be particularly nice or polite to them.
Really? Because I've always heard that everybody but Clark Gable and Bing Crosby lived in fear of them, and they were about the only two people could think of who had the nerve to turn down their invitations to parties and so
I think that's
exaggerated.
Exaggerated. Yes. I know a lot of people who didn't go.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who were not. They were, what you call, was a good-natured Luella Parsons. She was perfectly good-natured and was very nice to people. She was a lousy columnist, but she was a very, very shrewd, and nobody beat her to a thing. It was all, in fact, she wrote a book called The Gay Illiterate. She was pretty illiterate, but she was shrewd and cagey. But I don't think this business about everybody buttered them up to go to their party. I don't think that was so.
Yeah. When do you suppose we'll ever get to the bottom of the mystery involving her? She's supposed to have gotten her job by being aboard a ship.
Yes, I heard that.
When William Randolph Hearst shot a man. The story's been around for so many years.
But she was a very expert, illiterate columnist, but she really knew what she was doing, and nobody beat her to what she considered important. And no, I think that's too simple.
Yeah. Earlier, when I said Harlow, I think I meant to say even Garland, as someone who people said early on you could tell she would come to a bad end, and yet they liked her so much. And
I don't know how they could tell it. I don't know how they could tell it, really, before.
Well, I suppose any child who goes through what she did.
Yes, but she was a star for years and years, and whatever happened to her is sad, because she was enormously gifted, and I don't think he was as gifted and really showed what she could do.
You mean we never really saw how much was there?
Never really how much was there.
Really?
Yes, yes.
We saw so much.
Yes.
And,
no, but I remember in one, I'm trying to think, that she said, you know, I did a picture with her, The Star is Born, which was cut in a miserable way, but she said, you know, this is the first time in this picture that I've ever cried on the screen, because usually she had to be awfully happy, and she could cry and she could do everything, but she was never called upon. And then she had certain ambitions that she would have liked to have done, and certain parts that I think she should have done, but it didn't work out. She was difficult to work with.
I had her on a show years ago, and I had a feeling there was a wonderful sense of humor there.
Enormous humor, enormous humor. And she would tell stories and about whatever happened to her, and she would play a small, bad part. And that, for example, she'd go and see, there was an actress, a pretty actress called Lucille Bremer, who was the heroine. And Judy was always there watching and always playing a rather stupid, bad part, which she had a wonderful sense of the absurd.
Yeah. Did she say funny, nasty things about people? Is that the sort of sense
Not
of humor?
nasty, it was just funny, absurd. No, she was very, very clever and very intelligent. Yeah. Very intelligent.
Yeah. Did you know her toward the end when she was in...
Well, I knew her. I knew her. When Dirk Bogarde was directing her, and she was in London. I think she wasn't very clever about herself, but I think very talented, and didn't go as far as she could have gone because she was so gifted.
Yeah. That's interesting. Mr. Cukor, you'll be with us next time, and I have some more other friends and perhaps a few enemies we can talk about then.
Yes.
George Cukor. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Good night. I'm glad to say that my guest again tonight is George Cukor, a man who has directed everyone from Garbo to W.C. Fields, and whose career has spanned 50 and more years. He's 81 years old at the moment. Did I just make you older than you are? He's
I'm pretty
45. How old are you, Mr. Cukor?
I'm 81.
Oh, yes.
And soon I'll be 82, which is very
Did you think I said 91?
No. It just sounds intimidating.
Oh, I see.
And that I'm ambulatory or something.
We have no idea how old he is, but it was so interesting to hear him reminisce and talk about the past and the present. He's very much alive in the present, I'm happy to say. And here he is again, George Cukor, as you know. You know, I was surprised in something I read about you that, and also I learned this in talking to Richard Burton on this show. There are well-known leading men who don't like, or in some cases can't do, love scenes.
Yes.
Well, strange. Burton said he doesn't like to be touched, and he doesn't like to do
nonsense.
And he doesn't like to do love scenes for that reason. It embarrasses him. And
oh.
Is that nonsense?
Oh, he's breaking my heart.
Yes, that's
I
suffering.
think that's absolute nonsense.
Is it?
Yes.
Why would he say such a thing?
Maybe he thinks you're gullible. How can you be a leading man with everybody drooling about you, all these ladies drooling, and he doesn't like to be touched?
Mm-hmm.
It seems absolutely absurd.
Not in private life, but in public, in doing... I think he's been touched in private life.
Oh, I bet he has. I've never heard that about him. I've heard all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
But have you never run across this, or have you found that some of the best-known lovers on the screen are awkward in doing it, or hard to...
Not particularly, not particularly.
No?
I think you've got to watch that they don't become too sexy. But no, I think they've had a lot of experience.
Ronald Colman, for example.
Oh, Ronald Colman was very well behaved, very nice, very civilized, and he didn't mind being touched. And he was very kind to Shelley Winter, who that was her first picture, and she was inclined to be rather snotty. And he was very sweet to her, and she never annoyed him at all. She annoyed me plenty, although I think she's a gifted actress.
Yes.
But no, he was very kind to her.
Are you one of the few people in Hollywood who doesn't appear in her sexual memoirs?
Alas, yes, I'm furious about that. I'm not sure.
I'd sue if I were you.
I'm not sure. Did you appear in them?
I appear in the book, but not in that role.
Oh. I'm not sure it's very flattering, I must say, and the book is a huge success.
Yeah.
How gullible people are. Not about believing Shelley Winter's romantic love life, but really it seems so silly.
To talk about it and...
Yes, yes, and to do books, you know.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of other stuff in the book, but as she points out, everybody pretends they are interested in the other stuff, but they all ask her about that.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was so tantalizing. I didn't read it, but I don't think her life in the, you know, everybody's rushing into bed, but she's very shrewd because that apparently made the book a huge success.
Were you friends with W.C. Fields?
No, I liked him very much. He worked for a very short time. You know, he worked a week or two. Originally, Charles Lawton was going to do the part, Micawber, and Charles Lawton didn't think he was right for it. And he really, when we asked W.C. Fields, who had never played a part, whether he'd like to do it, he said, oh, sure, yes, he was very pleased. And he was fun to work with, but he'd never done a legitimate part.
That's right. He was a great reader of Dickens, though, I guess, in private life.
That I didn't know. Now, I'm learning things.
I think he identified with the bad childhood of so many Dickens characters.
Yes.
David Copperfield, he'd like to read over and over.
Really?
Yeah.
He never told me that. But
really?
No, but I thought he was charming to work with and modest and very nice, and he wasn't outrageous or anything like that. I suppose he was so scared. You know, it's the first sort of legitimate thing, and the whole David Copperfield was a very legitimate story, but I thought it's a question of perfect casting. He was cast so well as Micawber.
And his drinking wasn't a problem when working with him?
No drinking at all.
Yeah.
Not that I saw it.
Yeah.
I'm not very clever about detecting that, but I saw nothing at all like that.
Yeah. Somebody said that in the concentration camps, one of the rules of survival was to never trust anyone, and that the same holds true for Hollywood.
Really? I never heard that. It seems a silly thing to say. You can trust an awful lot of people in Hollywood. Why say that?
It's a startling thing to say, but that obviously you never know.
I have trusted people.
You never know who your friends are. There have been cases of
dear,
great
it's very
treachery.
melodramatic. No, I don't think it was all that dramatic.
You don't buy that?
No, I don't.
Yeah. But you're not saying that there haven't been cases of backstabbing and
no
false friendship?
more than in everything, but one isn't a fool, you know, and you can smell out the people who are going to throw you or do something. And I don't think one depends. As long as you can deliver the goods, you don't have to worry about that. You know, people's goodwill. I don't think that's very important if you're a good director and know what you're doing.
Yeah. Looking at the list of your films, it would seem that you've had nothing but success, and
I've had
at least in being employed. Even though some of the films you say were turkeys.
Yeah.
But has there ever been a real low point where you thought, it's all over, this is it?
No, I never thought that. I didn't have the guts to think of it, and I really was not at a low point. But I was put off the biggest picture, you know, Gone with the Wind, and I did a picture right off the reel, The Women, and I'm still alive to tell the tale. As a matter of fact, in Russia, there was a young man who was with us. It was a press agent or something, and he was put out of the country for reasons, you know, not justified reason.
An American?
An American who was working, Englishman. And I said to him, my dear boy, remember, this is my farewell speech. I was put off the biggest picture ever made, and I'm here to tell the tale. So don't be upset by anything. And it depends on you if you let it harm you, if you let it throw you, and you'll be done in by it.
Why were you? It seems like
I never know.
Gone with the Wind, you had made part of it, pre-production, I guess.
I made all the tests, all the casting. I worked with David Selznick, and this is ancient history, and I was on the picture, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, and that stuff is in the picture. And then I was removed for whatever reason. I've heard all kinds of reasons why I was removed.
You didn't shoot any of it yourself?
Oh, yes, I did. Oh, no, I shot 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought you had been in pre-production.
No, I shot scenes which I believe are still in the picture. So
how could you not know? I mean, have you not checked to see?
Well, I checked and I've forgotten.
I see.
What I did was very clever. I did not let that throw me and embitter me, and oh God, my life is ruined, because I never thought it was. I just thought it was very foolish to. We all have what we call kicks in the ass, and you've got to. Can I say that?
You just did. It seemed.
Anyway, you must, you know, take the good with the bad, and have a certain amount of guts and pride.
Do you entertain any pet theory of why you were removed?
No. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask before I'm through. I can't ask David Selznick because he's not alive, and he was a great friend of mine. I did speak at his funeral. I remained a friend. I don't know why. I think they tell me, the story is that Gable objected to me, didn't think I could cope with men, and that I coped with Spencer Tracy and Ronald Colman and other men, but I don't know really why I was fired.
That could be that your reputation as a women's director, he might have thought he'll let the woman steal the movie, perhaps. Oh, what nonsense. No one steals anything from anybody. It is the author, and that's awfully stupid. You're a lousy director if you sort of push things one way or the other. I think it's determined by the text, by the scenes, and then you do it. But there was some mystery, and I don't know what it was. Maybe I'll find out. Next time you ask me to come on, I say, I have a great revelation. I know why I was fired. Who could tell you?
Irene. Who's that?
Someone said Irene.
Maybe, if she would.
Oh, Irene Selznick.
Yes. Do you think? We're not very friendly at the moment, so it's not very likely that she would tell me. I know that there was a great deal of nonsense that went on when they did the Garson Kanin wrote thing where somebody played me. I just saw that little bit. But apparently...
Oh, Moviola?
Moviola. Apparently, I went around telling people, I'll put you in this picture, I'll put you in that picture. And of course, I didn't know that I was going to be fired. So I didn't quite believe that. And then I think some of the I did not admire the way certain actors played the part. You know, Joan Crawford and those people. I didn't think they were good looking enough.
Yeah. Really?
Really.
Good.
I think she was a beauty, and I think it would be probably too expensive to engage actors like that. But that was a big success, I believe.
Yeah. How did Miss Hepburn take the publication of a book about her? And
I think she disliked it. She felt betrayed, but she's been so used to all that. She said, you know, if anybody wanted to write a book, I could write a book too. And she writes very well. But I think she was appalled at the thing. But she's been betrayed many times in her life. And also, it was very clumsy and awkward and badly written. But she said, you know, that's what you get for being a movie star.
Are you talking about the Tracy Hepburn book or the other one?
Yes.
That was,
Well, whatever it is, the one was called Kate, and
Yeah.
it was inaccurate and silly book. And the Tracy Hepburn book, she never mentioned. She spoke very well about her friendship with Spencer Tracy, but there was an awful lot of crap written about that.
You'd think that anyone who knew her would know that if she wanted a book written, she'd do it
Yes, she'd
herself.
write it and write it very well, too.
Yeah, I wish you would.
Well, maybe she will. I'll tell her that you advised her to do it.
Okay.
No, she's busy working, but she writes extremely well. All the little bits and pieces that she writes, and they're very amusing. And she's written some things in the script that we've done, and very cleverly.
She was removed from a picture you were working on, and I
Yes.
can't conceive of that, because most people would give anything to get her.
That was an unfair and stupid thing to do. And Maggie Smith took over. It was a play of Graham Greene's. I really...
Travels with My Aunt. I
Yes,
didn't realize.
yes.
Yeah.
It'd been quite different if she'd played it. I thought that was... We've all had, you know, what I call a kick in the ass.
Yeah.
And she was wonderfully behaved, and she became a friend of Maggie Smith's. And in fact, she offered Maggie Smith to wear this dress or this thing. She was very generous about it. And also, I was very upset. I thought, I should leave too. And she said, don't leave, don't leave. You're wrong. And so I stayed on and did the picture.
I can't imagine what it would take to get her down, can you?
It didn't get her down. She just, oh, I think she's had tough things to cope with, which she does very well. She's not, you know, a monster of strength and everything. And she just now, at this present picture, she told me, I spoke to her the other day, she played tennis or something, which she should not have done, and she tore a ligament. And she didn't think she could play the thing opposite with...
James Stewart?
No.
I mean Henry Fonda?
Henry Fonda.
Yeah.
But she did, and she had to row boats and things. In fact, they were both riding a canoe, and they fell over. They were thrown out, and he really didn't want to get back into it. She said, oh, don't be silly. She's a very good sport, and they both got in, and that was that.
You got him to do it over?
Yes, she got him to do it over again. He didn't want to.
What about the legends of the casting couch have been with us to a nauseating degree over the years. And I often wondered, are there any really significant careers that were begun by on the casting couch?
Well, I mean, helped along maybe, but really, I think to make a movie costs $2 million, and I don't think any couch is worth that. I think some people have weaknesses and but the business of anybody getting a job for the casting couch, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Now maybe they can push it along a little bit, but I don't believe that. It's too big a business.
Yeah. I did 5 programs with Jed Harris.
I did not admire him, but that's a sound of distaste.
That was a voluntary sound.
Yes, that was a voluntary. I didn't like him very much. You did, apparently. I never saw those programs.
And he was...
he wasn't always truthful either.
No?
No.
There's a man that many people said, as I said to him on the show, there are people who've said they wouldn't sit in the same room with you.
Yes. I don't think he cared.
No, he seemed utterly immune to anything like
Yes,
that.
yes.
It obviously
He
seemed
had certain hateful characteristics.
hateful.
And also, yes, I think he did a lot of people in, you know. He was full of charm. I mean, I don't think Kate liked him, and Ina Claire, anybody who had an experience. Also, they said he wasn't a very good director.
Really?
Yes.
He certainly had a string of successes.
He had a string, but I don't think he directed those.
Who did?
Well,
Oh, you mean he produced them rather than...
produced them and directed them.
I see, yeah.
He had a very sad life. It was very sad that he ended up rather unhappily. In fact, there was some place that I came and he said, well, I can't bear me, and I'll have to leave, and he left. I took that as a flattery because he wasn't a nice man. You liked him, didn't you?
It's hard to say whether I liked him or not. Yeah, I guess I did like him because he seemed to be terribly much self-possessed, and you have to, there's something admirable about someone who doesn't care what anybody thinks about them. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But of course, it could be, if it's Hitler, that's not admirable. But, and I don't know how many people he did in and in what ways. There might be some of those I think were...
didn't see him on your program.
Yeah, I'm sure he was unspeakable in many ways.
Yes.
But there was something certainly charming about him, to the degree where I could see why many people were mesmerized by him. And
up to a point, and then turned on him.
Women apparently were just devastated by him.
Up to a certain point,
yeah.
And then turned on him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they were mesmerized with that he behaved rather badly.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to say about somebody who's in heaven now, fluttering around.
Yeah.
I didn't like him.
Yeah. You didn't like him, is that the point?
No.
Yeah. Did you like Tallulah Bankhead?
Oh, very much. She was adorable and funny, and she had this wonderful sense of humor, and she was perfectly nice and kind and cheerful.
Can I direct you? Please don't put your hand in front of your mouth.
Oh, pardon me.
Is that how recently have you been directed by someone my age?
Well, never, I don't think. But anyway, I won't put my hand. I was just being modest.
You were being modest. You weren't sure what you were saying should be said.
Yeah. Oh, no,
Body language.
No. But
Mr. Cukor, you seem to have had a life about which somebody said, Gavin Lambert, I think, that the life and the work have been happy partners. It's a nice phrase.
yes, it is. When did you say that in the book on Cukor?
In the book on Cukor, yeah.
Yes. It wasn't always happy.
Do you buy that description? You seem
Well, nothing is always happy, and we've all had disappointments and kicks and this and that, but you cope with it. We've had a lot of good luck and good things, but I don't think that we're in this business where everything can't be sweet. I've had a lot of disappointments, but there's no place such a bore to talk about them.
Mm-hmm. Does an Oscar mean anything to you, or has it in the last?
Yes, I've had only one, sadly, but if they were giving, maybe when you get very aged, they give you one just for sheer stick-to-it.
Survival.
Yes, survival, yes.
When I think of the people you saw, you've admitted to being a stage-struck kid. It was the stage, really. You thought movies were not worth bothering with.
But I forgot the stage. Up to a certain point, I, in fact, went back and was persuaded to do a play by Enid Bagnall, and I didn't like it. And when I left Boston, where it opened, and I had directed, and another director came on, I felt as though I'd been let out of reform school. I was so pleased and determined never again to have anything to do with the theater.
Once that was going to be your life, wasn't it? The
Yes,
stage.
oh yes, I was really stage-struck, and it was thrilling to me.
You saw Nijinsky, I believe.
Yes, I did.
And you've seen great ballet dancers today.
Yes.
Is it possible to compare?
Not really. I don't know enough about dancing, and I thought Nijinsky was lovely, and I think the present one, what's his name?
Well, Nureyev, Baryshnikov.
Nureyev and Baryshnikov, they're wonderful dancers.
Yeah. Had you not been told it was Nijinsky, would you have just been transported by seeing him?
No, I sat. I was much younger then, and I was thrilled. As a matter of fact, he was not at his best. I was at the Metropolitan Opera House, where he appeared, He was not at his best.
When have you sat in a theater and just had your scalp tingle from the performance on stage?
Not dancing, not dancing.
Theater.
Theater. Well, great many times.
Yeah.
Great many times. And there's nothing more satisfactory or thrilling when it's great. And there's nothing more disappointing when it's just lousy and irritating. But I wasn't prepared for this question. I have been thrilled in my day seeing, and also the things changed. When I was younger, I was I loved the theater and I loved this and that. And when you get older, you take it in your stride.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen wonderful things. I saw wonderful actresses.
Lorette Taylor,
yes, I admire her.
Yeah.
And I did a play with her, 2 plays, and she was the most brilliant actress, and it was a thrill to work with her. Mind you, I was much younger, and she was a marvelous actress.
Do you find much talent in the film students today when you lecture and so on? Do you see that?
You can't tell, really.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very polite, and they're glad to see somebody alive. But no, I can't tell a damn thing. Also, I don't think anybody can tell. I can't look at somebody and say, oh, yes, except if you say she's a beautiful girl, that's very good marks. But you really can't tell whether they're very gifted. You have to see them on the screen. And a lot of people are wonderful looking, and they don't really look all that good on the screen.
I wondered about that. What is that mystery of certain faces that are beautiful?
Well, yes, that are wonderful, that are move beautifully and have eyes and things. They were very sharp about that. The studios would be.
They'll say that she has a face the camera loves.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Can you spot those faces?
No,
or is it often a surprise?
No, often a surprise. It's a surprise to everybody.
Yeah.
They can say who's very pretty, but they can't say the faces move in a wonderful way. That they can't tell. At least I've never been able to.
Do certain photograph models not photograph well on film? Still?
Yes, I've heard that. I've heard that. Yeah. It's something that happens inside, that it's not easily detectable.
Have you fired actors in mid-picture?
Yes, yes. I don't remember them. I've been fired too,
sure.
And it's never a personal matter. I think, well, so-and-so's lousy and it's going to hurt the picture, and I've had to fire them.
Do you do it personally, or do you have someone?
No, I am naturally. I'm a coward, and I have other people do it.
Uh-huh. It's big of you to admit that.
Yes, yes.
So you're not a complete coward.
No. I can't say, oh, well, listen, so-and-so and so-and-so. Yes, I think you see it, and also it's not completely on my own. When I say so-and-so is hopeless, there's no point in going further. I usually have people who agree with me.
Yeah. I think it's Malcolm Cowley has written a book, I think it's called The View from 80, but I may be wrong. And you've admitted to being 81, if that's something one has to admit.
Yes.
And I wonder, I can't imagine what that's like, of course.
To be 81? You'll be amazed how quickly it comes on you.
I'm sure.
I used to think, oh, 80, my God, you'll be dead. And then, no, I don't want to die that quickly.
It doesn't feel like living in a foreign country?
No, not at all, not at all, not at all. Although people do push you here and there. But no, not at all, not at all. I find life thrilling.
That's wonderful. Is there any chance that you're happier now than you were?
No, I was always
times?
happy. I was always perfectly happy. That doesn't mean that I didn't have things that disappointed me, but I think people are professionally unhappy. And besides, no one is really interested. I said, after your mother dies, no one cares that much. and get on with it.
Get on with it.
Yes. So,
and so you don't like conversations that begin, there are only a few of us left, George.
No, it bores me.
Yeah.
They're bores. I spoke today to a friend of mine whom I knew for a long time, and she told me, maybe I'm a cad to say, but she's going to celebrate her 80th birthday, and she's full of Helen Hayes.
Helen Hayes?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, so I was a stage manager. I've known her all these years, and she's going to do it in a very nice way. I shouldn't tell this. Let Helen Hayes tell it on the show. She's going to do it at the Actors' Home. So there'll be old actors there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, yes.
That's nice.
I shouldn't tell her secrets.
Did you ever, you, of course, you didn't work with Louise Brooks, but...
No, I didn't, and
wonderful.
I'm so bored with all that stuff about how wonderful she was, because...
Really?
Yes.
Because there's too much...
Well, I don't know why they write all these love letters about her.
She was wonderful.
Oh, she was. Well, I didn't see her enough. But I don't know why they go on.
And is, in fact.
Oh, and is, yes, sure.
She's a dear friend of mine.
Have you ever seen her?
No, but I owe her a letter.
You do?
Yeah.
Well, write it to her.
I will
Very
do
nice.
that, yes.
And say that I do admire her.
I will tell her that.
Sure.
George Cukor, thank you again for being here. Our time has gone.
Oh,
What can we do?
I hope it wasn't heavy going for you.
No, not at all. Not at all. I find you were a pussycat. See you next time. Good night.
Michael Crichton, author of Coma, visits the Dick Cavett Show tomorrow night at midnight. Hart falls for the professor's daughter on The Paper Chase Thursday at 8. Caption News is next.